I am 89 years old. At this age, patterns become louder than people. You stop seeing individuals and start seeing cycles. You stop hearing words and start hearing echoes of conversations you've heard before. Faces change. New generations appear. Different features, different expressions, different names. Technology changes from rotary phones to smartphones, from letters to emails to messages that disappear. The tools transform completely. Language changes, new slang, new expressions, new ways of saying the same old things. But human mistakes, the fundamental errors we make, the core patterns of self-destruction, they repeat exactly the same with eerie precision, like a script no one realizes they're following over and over, generation after generation, decade after decade, the same mistakes wearing different costumes. And there is one mistake I have seen in every generation, one error that transcends time, culture, technology, circumstance. In my parents, who lived through the Depression, who survived war, who thought their hardships were unique. In my friends, my peers, the people I grew up with, the ones I watched age alongside me, in my children who I raised, who I tried to warn, who couldn't hear me because they thought their time was different, and now in yours, in you, right now, making the exact same mistake I watched generations before you make, the same one, identical in its essence, unchanged in its core, just dressed differently, new vocabulary, new justifications, new explanations for the same old error. You think your generation is unique. Every generation thinks this. It's part of the pattern itself. You think your pressures are new. The specific pressures might be student debt, social media, climate anxiety, but the pressure itself, ancient. You think your struggles are unprecedented, that no one has ever faced what you're facing, that your challenges are historically unique. They aren't. The details differ. The core struggle is timeless. The scenery changes. The stage looks different. The props are updated. The costumes are modern. The error does not. The fundamental mistake remains constant across time. And here it is. You trade your life for a future that never arrives. At 20, you say with absolute conviction, I'll enjoy life after I build something, after I establish myself, after I prove myself, after I create a foundation. At 30, the script continues. I'll relax once I'm stable, once I have security, once I've reached a certain level, once the groundwork is laid. At 40, the postponement deepens. I'll focus on myself when things calm down, when the kids are older, when work stabilizes, when I have more time. At 50, the promise extends further. I'll live after I retire, after I've earned it, after I've done my duty, after I've fulfilled my obligations. And at 70, when the future you've been preparing for finally arrives, you realize you never learned how to live at all. You prepared for living but never actually did it. You practiced for a performance that never happened. I have seen this mistake destroy people quietly, not in dramatic explosions, not in visible catastrophes, not dramatically, no theatrical collapse, no obvious destruction, no moment where everyone can see the damage. Quietly, internally, invisibly, in ways only the person themselves can feel. It doesn't kill you physically. Your body keeps functioning, your heart keeps beating, your lungs keep breathing. It empties you gradually, hollows you out, removes the substance while maintaining the shell, leaves you functioning but not living. You become efficient, very efficient, productive, optimized, good at systems and processes, productive, achieving things, checking boxes, meeting goals, hitting targets, responsible, reliable, dependable, someone people can count on, someone who fulfills obligations. and hollow, empty inside, disconnected from yourself, going through motions without meaning. Let me tell you about a man named Victor. This story matters because Victor is not unique. He represents millions. Maybe he represents you. Victor was disciplined, incredibly disciplined. He had routines, systems, structure, control over every aspect of his life, organized, everything in its place, everything scheduled, everything planned, nothing left to chance, respected. People looked up to him, admired his work ethic, his dedication, his commitment. He always had a plan, never spontaneous, never impulsive, never uncertain, always strategic. 5-year goals written down, reviewed quarterly, adjusted annually, always working towards something. 10-year targets, the big vision, the ultimate destination, the place where everything would finally make sense, everything calculated, risk assessed, return measured, success defined and pursued methodically. But Victor had one habit that defined his entire existence. He postponed joy, consistently, systematically, as if joy was something that required permission from achievement. Every vacation delayed. Not this year, maybe next year, when the project is finished, when things slow down. Every hobby postponed. I'll pick up painting after I retire. I'll learn guitar when I have time. I'll travel when it makes sense. Every personal dream labeled later. Later became his most used word. Later became his philosophy. Later became his prison. When he was 58, he told me over coffee one morning with absolute conviction, just a few more years, then I'll finally slow down. Then I'll do all those things. Then I'll actually live. At 61, he had a stroke. Sudden, unexpected, on a Tuesday morning at his desk. He survived. His body recovered. He could walk, talk, function. Physically, he was okay. But something inside him didn't. Something broke that couldn't be repaired. Something died that medical intervention couldn't save. He sat in his living room one afternoon about 6 months after the stroke and said something I will never forget. I prepared for life. I never actually lived it. I got ready but never actually showed up. That is the mistake. That's the pattern, that's the error that destroys people from the inside. Preparation without presence, planning without participation, strategy without soul, planning without participation, thinking about living instead of actually living, organizing your life instead of inhabiting it. You confuse productivity with purpose. You think because you're accomplishing things, your life has meaning. They are not the same. Productivity is external. Purpose is internal. One can exist without the other. You can build a career and still lose yourself. Climb the ladder while forgetting who's climbing. Achieve success while becoming a stranger to yourself. You can earn money and still feel poor. Accumulate wealth while experiencing spiritual bankruptcy. Have financial security while feeling emotionally destitute. You can be admired and still feel unseen, respected publicly while feeling unknown privately, praised by many while understood by none. The mistake is believing life begins once you achieve enough, once you reach a certain level, once you prove yourself, once you arrive. Enough does not exist. It's a mirage. A moving target, a finish line that recedes as you approach it. It moves. Every time you get close, the definition changes. Every time you think you've arrived, new requirements appear. Every time you reach it, it shifts. The goalpost moves, the bar raises, enough becomes more, always more. At 89, I no longer chase enough. I've given up that pursuit. I've abandoned that illusion. I chase awareness, presence, understanding, being here now. That's all that matters anymore. because here is what time taught me, what decades of observation revealed. If you cannot enjoy a simple moment now, you will not enjoy a grand moment later. The capacity for joy isn't unlocked by achievement. If you cannot sit quietly with yourself now, retirement will not fix that. Solitude doesn't become comfortable just because you have more time for it. If you cannot prioritize people now, success will not teach you how. Achievement doesn't suddenly make relationships feel important. The mistake I see repeated is simple in description but catastrophic in consequence. You live as if life is rehearsal, practice, preparation for the real thing that's coming later. It isn't. This is not practice. This is not the warm-up. There is no rehearsal, no trial run, no test version before the actual thing begins. There is no warm-up. You're already in the game. You're already performing. This is already it. This is it. This moment, this day, this life, right now. There is no other version coming. I made this mistake too, for decades. I'm not exempt. I'm not speaking from superiority, but from painful recognition. I thought sacrifice without limit was noble. I thought suffering proved dedication. I thought postponement demonstrated seriousness. I thought exhaustion meant commitment. If I wasn't tired, I wasn't working hard enough. If I wasn't stressed, I wasn't taking it seriously. I believed if I delayed pleasure long enough, it would multiply. If I saved joy for later, there would be more of it. If I postponed living, the eventual living would be richer. It doesn't. Delayed living doesn't compound. It doesn't accumulate interest. It doesn't multiply. Delayed living becomes habit. Postponement becomes your default. Later becomes your automatic response. And habit becomes identity. You become the person who works hard, the responsible one, the serious one, and you forget there was ever another version of you. Identity becomes life, and then that's who you are. That's your entire existence. Work, responsibility, preparation, postponement, and life passes while you're preparing, while you're working, while you're postponing. Time moves regardless. You think you're being disciplined, and sometimes you are. Sometimes sacrifice is necessary. Sometimes you're just avoiding being alive, avoiding vulnerability, avoiding uncertainty, avoiding the discomfort of actually living. There was a period in my 40s where every day looked identical, exactly the same, no variation, no spontaneity, no surprises. Wake up, same time, same routine, same movements, work, same commute, same desk, same meetings, same stress. Stress, constant background noise, never quite gone, never quite managed. Sleep, exhausted, dreamless, brief, then wake up and repeat, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. I told myself it was temporary, this phase, this season, this period of intense focus. Temporary lasted 12 years. 12 years, more than a decade of identical days. 12 years I cannot replay, cannot recover, cannot relive, cannot redo. 12 years of conversations I barely remember, with my wife, my children, my friends, all lost to distraction. 12 years of sunsets I didn't notice, of seasons changing, of life happening around me while I was elsewhere mentally. You don't lose life all at once. There's no single moment where everything disappears. You lose it in increments, a day at a time, an hour at a time, a moment at a time. Small losses that accumulate into massive absence. The most dangerous sentence in the world is later. Later. 2 syllables, 6 letters, infinite destruction. Later is seductive. It sounds reasonable. It feels responsible. It appears to be planning. Later feels safe. It avoids present discomfort. It delays difficult decisions. It postpones risk. Later gives you the illusion of control, the illusion that time is guaranteed. The illusion that you'll definitely have another chance, but later is a promise no one signed, no contract, no guarantee, no assurance that later will ever arrive. At 89, I sit quietly more often. I have the time now, the time I postponed having for so many decades. And I observe something interesting, something that challenges conventional wisdom about aging. The people who look the most tired are not the oldest, not the people with the most years, not the ones whose bodies have aged most. They are the most disconnected from themselves, from their truth, from their lives, disconnected from themselves. They don't know who they are beneath the roles they play, beneath the responsibilities they carry, from meaning, from purpose, from anything that makes their heart feel engaged and alive, from presence, from being here now, from actually inhabiting their own lives instead of constantly thinking about elsewhere. You are not exhausted because life is hard. Life is hard for everyone. That's not what creates the deep exhaustion. You are exhausted because you are living out of alignment, doing things that don't match your values, being someone you're not, living a life that doesn't fit. You are building something that does not feed you, creating external success while experiencing internal starvation, constructing an impressive life that feels empty. You are chasing something that does not satisfy you, goals that don't fulfill, achievements that don't nourish, success that doesn't feel like success. And you call that responsibility, you call it maturity, you call it being an adult. You justify the misalignment with virtue words. Let me tell you something uncomfortable, something that challenges the dominant narrative about sacrifice and responsibility. Your children do not need your perfection. They don't need you to be flawless. They don't need you to have it all figured out. They need your presence. They need you there, actually there, engaged, attentive, present in the moment with them. Your spouse does not need your success. They don't need the house or the car or the status. They didn't marry your achievements. They need your attention, your focus, your time, your emotional availability, your presence. Your future does not need your sacrifice. It doesn't need you to destroy your present. It doesn't need you to suffer now to thrive later. It needs your awareness, your consciousness, your ability to make choices from presence instead of fear. At 89, I do not regret working hard. Work is good. Achievement is fine. Building things matters. I regret not noticing the costs sooner, not seeing what I was paying, not realizing the price tag until decades had passed. The cost was time, irreplaceable, unrecoverable, gone forever. The cost was depth, surface level everything, no real connection, no true intimacy, no meaningful presence. The cost was connection with myself, with others, with life itself, with anything that actually matters. And once you understand the cost, you cannot unsee it. Once you realize what you've traded, you can't unknow it. The awareness is permanent. The mistake repeats because society rewards it. We celebrate busyness. We glorify exhaustion. We praise sacrifice. People applaud exhaustion. Look how hard they work. Look how dedicated they are. Look how much they sacrifice. They praise overwork, wear it like a badge, compete over who's more stressed, who's busier, who has less time. They glorify sacrifice, make heroes of people who neglect themselves, who postpone living, who work themselves to death, but they do not see the emptiness it leaves behind, the hollowness, the disconnection, the life unlived, and by the time you see it, decades have passed. You're 60. or 70 or 89, and most of your life is behind you. I have seen men retire and fall into depression within months, within weeks sometimes. The structure gone, they collapse because they built identity around productivity, around doing, around producing, around working. When productivity ended, they didn't know who they were, no job title, no projects, no goals, just themselves, and they'd never met themselves. They prepared financially, saved money, built retirement accounts, calculated numbers, got that part right. They never prepared emotionally, never developed interests, never built relationships, never learned who they were beyond their work. At 89, I can tell you this clearly without any doubt or uncertainty. Do not build a life you need to escape from. Don't create something you have to survive until you can finally leave it. Build one you can inhabit daily, one that feels livable now, one that doesn't require escape or retirement to become tolerable, even if it is small, even if it's not impressive, even if others don't understand it, even if it is simple, even if it lacks complexity, even if it doesn't require explanation or justification. This does not mean abandon responsibility. I'm not advocating irresponsibility or recklessness. It means integrate life into responsibility. Bring joy into the doing. Bring presence into the working. Bring yourself into the obligations. Laugh in the middle of pressure. Find humor in difficulty. Don't postpone joy until pressure ends. Pause in the middle of ambition. Stop. Breathe. Notice where you are. Don't only see the destination. Call someone without a reason, connect without agenda, reach out without needing something, just because, walk without headphones, experience silence, hear the world, be present to what's around you, look up from your phone, from your thoughts, from your worries, actually see what's here. You think those things are insignificant, too small to matter, not important compared to your goals. They are not. They are everything. They are life itself. They are what you'll remember. They are life, the actual substance of living, the moments that make up existence, the experiences that create meaning. The mistake I always see repeated is postponing presence, delaying being here, waiting to finally show up fully. You cannot store life like savings. It doesn't accumulate in an account. You can't save it for later. It expires daily. Use it or lose it. Each day is a perishable resource. Each moment either lived or lost. If I could sit across from you right now and give you one correction, one adjustment that would change everything, it would be this. Stop preparing for a future version of yourself. Stop working toward becoming someone different. Stop postponing until you're somehow better. Start inhabiting the one you are right now, this version, this person, with all the flaws and incompleteness, imperfect, deeply imperfect, flawed, limited, broken in places, incomplete, still growing, still learning, still developing, still becoming, unfinished, not there yet, not fully formed, not fully realized, alive, but alive right now, breathing, here, present, existing in this moment. At 89, time is no longer theoretical for me. It's not abstract. It's not something I think about philosophically. It is tangible, concrete, real, something I can feel running out, measured in seasons I have left, not decades, not years, seasons, winters, springs, maybe a handful. Not decades, not vast stretches of future, not endless possibility, just a little time. And when you feel time like that, your priorities sharpen instantly, immediately, without effort. You stop chasing applause. External validation stops mattering. Other people's opinions become irrelevant. You stop arguing over nonsense. Petty conflicts lose their power. Small disagreements aren't worth the energy. You stop postponing love. You say it, you show it, you express it while you still can. You do not need a tragedy to wake up. You don't need a diagnosis. You don't need a crisis. You don't need to lose something first. You need awareness, consciousness, the ability to see the pattern while you still have time to change it. But awareness requires courage because seeing clearly means you can't pretend anymore. Because once you see the pattern, you cannot pretend anymore. You can't unsee it. You can't claim ignorance. I have seen this mistake repeated for nearly 9 decades, watched it in every generation, seen it destroy people quietly, and I am telling you now, with whatever authority 89 years grants me, do not sacrifice the present for a future that might never feel different. The future you're imagining might never arrive. And if it does, you might not know how to live in it. Because if you do not learn how to live now, if you don't practice presence, joy, connection right now, you will not suddenly know how later. These aren't skills that appear magically when circumstances change. They're muscles you have to build. I am 89 years old, and the mistake I see repeated every generation is simple. You are waiting for life to begin, waiting for the right time, the right circumstances, the right version of yourself. It already has. Life is here, now, this moment, this day, this breath. Do not wait until you are sitting where I am, looking back across decades of preparation, to finally understand that, to finally see that life was happening the whole time.